And so I'm excited to spend tonight with you ladies, and hopefully this will be a really informative call. I absolutely do not expect it to take the entire time, but just a really good refresher. And we're going to be talking about the recipe builder. But before that, real quick, just wanted to remind you all that if you guys could, so I have an hour of work blocked off after this, turn in your assessments ASAP, please, because I know that we're going out of town this weekend. I know a lot of you guys have stuff going on this weekend. And the sooner, the better. Like that would be great if you could get them in ASAP. I would really appreciate that. I want to have them done by Friday afternoon, like when we're traveling there. So sooner you get them in, that would be great. And remember too, lots of people just are finishing up the 8 week challenge, right? So we did a challenge starting at the beginning of March where we said we would perfectly line up with Memorial Day. So remember, for a lot of you guys on your home screen, your challenge will end like this weekend. So that means that in this last week here, you have time to get those photos in for that challenge. So almost all of your guys' dashboards for those of you that did the challenge will look like this. I know this isn't applicable for everybody, but just be aware that when you're taking your assessment photos this week, it will likely prompt you to have those as your challenge photos. So just make sure to go back and look at the outfit that you were wearing at the beginning of the challenge and try to keep them as close as you possibly can. And we'll be able to go from there. So that's something else I wanted to mention too. And then the third thing is on the team call last week, I teased our launch of Colostrum, which is here. It's so exciting. I just got the pre-release for it today, so it should launch next Wednesday. Okay, so I'll share a whole bunch about the colostrum by the time it's here. But as you guys know, colostrum is the first milk that mammals produce after they give birth. So it's full of immunoglobulins. It's full of anti-inflammatory properties, really good for gut health, really good for people with leaky gut. But just overall, it's going to be one of our foundational products. I'm really excited about it. So again, I will make sure that everybody knows when that is live. But if you guys have individual questions about colostrum, let me know. Jordan, I can't, you cannot quote me on this. And if it's not the right answer, I also apologize. But I was quoted at $49.99. That's what they told me. It's subject to change, of course, because I heard that like 2 weeks ago, but that's what I heard. So please don't get mad if that's not which I know you won't, but like if that's not the exact thing, because obviously I don't have any control over that. So that's what I've heard. But okay, let's jump into tonight's topic. I'm so excited to have quite a few of you guys here. We are going to be talking about the recipe builder in the app. So specifically the recipe builder. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now, when you guys see these macros pop up, like just ignore them. These are my macros specifically, right? So they're nothing other than just like a pure example here. But how we're going to access the recipe builder is going to be this three tabs over here on the left-hand side. So in our left-hand corner here, it gives us the options to copy our entire day or build a recipe. Now, this copy entire day, I wanted to mention, for a lot of you guys who eat the same thing every day, right? Maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, your breakfast, lunch, and dinners are exactly the same. That happens with us a lot. You can just hit copy entire day, and then it will ask you where you want to copy that. But here's what I'm going to say. You only do that if you're eating those same things, right? If stuff is different, instead of copying the entire day, then you can hit the three dots and you can just copy that meal. So maybe you had the same this same like breakfast. So I have the exact same thing tomorrow. Then I can go to those three dots and hit copy meal. But if the day was truly equivalent, then you could hit copy entire day. So this is kind of like the back end of the app of how we make this work super optimally for us. Okay. But we're going to go to the recipe builder. So a couple things I want you guys to know about the recipe builder is it feels very difficult to be like, okay, well, I just made a meal. I have no idea how to track those macros. And it's not that hard. We just make it really hard. Okay. So we're going to build a recipe together. And then through this, I'm going to show you how to change the ingredients. I'm going to show you how to change the quantities of it and kind of what the serving is. So let's do my blueberry oat bars that I've been making lately. Okay. So first ingredient in that one is oats. So I typically just find whatever specific oats, if they're steel cut oats, if they're rolled oats, dried oats, etc. So these ones are steel cut oats. I know the macros are wrong on that one though. So I do two cups of these like dry oats, right? So normally I could also scan the barcode too, but we're just doing this for simple measures. They're also going to have peanut butter in there, so I'm going to search peanut butter. In this case, it has a third cup of peanut butter. Again, doesn't really matter, but you would be reading a recipe, putting it in here, right? So I'm just going to quick put the other things in there. But I wanted to show you how easy it is to start to change the quantities of these things. So we got blueberries in there, and then there's honey. And again, as you guys know, you can drop these down if you're just getting back into using the app or this is your first time using the app, most foods here are going to have different measurement quantities. So make sure that you're changing that quantity appropriately too. So whatever I'm putting in there, these guys have maple syrup in them. And then I'm drawing a blank on what else they have. Oh, level 1. So it's very important for level 1 flavors specifically that you find the flavor that you are referring to, our protein, because each of our protein has a little bit of different macros. So in this one, I used caramel latte. Caramel latte, where are you? Caramel latte, there's 3 scoops of that. And then I use the collagen. There we go. And you obviously want to make sure you check our first form collagen. Okay. So let's say that roughly these are the ingredients that are in my oat bars. Okay. Like there's maybe a few other things. Like I might throw some flax seed in there. I might throw some chia seeds, but we're just going to work with this recipe because there's enough stuff in here. Okay. So once you get all your ingredients in here, you would obviously add ingredients via that plus, or you could use this barcode scanner. Now, I'm on my desktop, so I can't use the barcode scanner, but if I was on my phone, I could. This is also a perfect time to say that if you guys want to use the desktop version of the app, you can. It's not just available for someone like myself who has an advisor profile. It is available for you. And up here, this URL, you would just type this in. You type in dashboard.firstform.app, and then you'd hit enter, and then that would prompt you to log in. So I know, I think she's still on the call. Christy Negus, if she's here, she might have jumped off quick. She uses a desktop version too. I know, and she prefers that. I do too because I can use it really fast. So again, it will sync up with your phone too. You just have to make sure that like you refresh the app or you refresh the desktop. So anyway, if you want to use the desktop version, you can. So with this being said, and with this recipe builder here, immediately the first thing that we need to realize is this is calculating everything I put in here as 1 serving because I haven't changed any quantities here and I haven't changed the serving here. So let's say that I am going to do 8 servings. That's great. I can leave it as 8 servings. Maybe I want to switch it to slices. Maybe I want to switch it to cups, ounces, grams, milliliters, etc. Very important that you pick this over here. Okay. So soups, for example, I typically do in cups. A whole bunch of like maybe pasta salad, I might do in ounces, but you need to change this over here because what a lot of people do is they build this recipe and they're like, well, I'm not eating the whole thing. Like it's not 2,133 calories. It's like, well, again, you're saying that that's 1 serving. So what I've done for my bars is I divide them into 8. So as you guys can see here, as I'm changing this serving size, the individual serving is changing. So this tells me total, there's the macros for the entire thing, but per serving, there is the macros like per one of those 8 bars. Which is why when I always give you guys those recipes for in your weekly email, I include like yield and then serving. So that today's recipe was like it will yield 2 wraps, but like via one serving of that. Like here's what it is, or 1 tortilla wrap. That's what it is. So once we do this, then we can see, okay, if I just have one of those bars after dividing it into 8, here is the quantities of that. And of course, you can give it a name. So let me say these are blueberry bars, and then I'll just put test. Okay. If you also want to flip flop these numbers around, so you want to see the nice highlighted numbers for individual servings, just hit this arrow here and it flips them really quick. Of course, you can get fancy. You can add a picture with it too, which a lot of people like to do. But as soon as, excuse me, you have this finished up, Then you hit save. And here's where it's going to prompt you. Do you want to save this as a meal? Or do you want to save this as a recipe? Or do you want to track it? Meaning, like, do you want to track it right now? Or do you want to save it as a recipe? Always, guys, what I'm always going to tell you to do is save this as a recipe. Because if you hit track, this is going to go away. It's not going to save. So let's hit save as recipe. And it says saves blueberry bars and test. Okay, like whatever I named it. So then now when I go to my nutrition log, I'm going to hit the plus button and I'll search for that. So I'll search for blueberry bars and it should pull up test. Now, obviously, I have quite a few other, like if I just put blueberry in there, you can see a whole bunch of my other ones, blueberry muffin I made, blueberry protein bar, blueberry bar, etc. So you have to be really specific of what you did. And a lot of the times too, I can show you, oh, this is perfect. I'll show you guys. I date the recipes that I make them, like that I make them the first time or the most updated version of them. So I know I made blueberry Kodiak muffins on February 18th or lemon blueberry muffins on 7/30, etc. So I like to date my stuff just so I know when I'm making them and when the recipe is there. So now if I wanted to log this blueberry bar because I'm eating it, now I got to find the test. So the one that we just made. Oh, where did it go? Bar test. Maybe I have to put the parenthesis. Sometimes I can't go back and it's hard for me to find them. Let's just X out of this and we'll come back.
Kelsey, it was under blueberry bars with
Oh,
an S.
I'm sitting here like, what the heck did I name this dang thing? Bars. Look at me.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Thanks, girl. You saving the day. Which is why you should name it something you're going to remember. So if you pull that up, what it's going to pull it up as is one serving of that because you already selected what one serving is. But say you had 2 bars, then you'd go here and backspace the quantity and change it to 2 bars. Now, this drop down is not going to give you any other options because you set it as servings. If you'd set it as slices, you would only see slices here, grams, ounces, etc. So you can't like change that once you have set it right here. So that's important to remember too, that like whatever you want to measure it as in the future, like that's what it needs to be. Okay, so if I hit save, then you can see it automatically goes in here. So 18 protein, 34 carb, 8 fat, 3 fibers are the macros. Obviously, it auto-populates very nice over here. There you go, it's all logged. Now, every time I have this week, I can search for this, or I can just hit copy and then decide whatever day I wanted to put this on. So there's a couple ways to navigate it. But let's say now, so we built a recipe. Let's say that you want to go back in and you want to edit the recipe. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to go to menu. Now, again, my side of things looks a little bit different than your guys's because I have obviously stuff to see your assessments, but you're going to go to under this settings tab, you want to look for what says my foods. Okay. So you'll click on my foods. And then the first thing that pops up is all. So this is anything that you've ever put in there from a custom food, from a quick ad to a recipe. Like it just kind of pulls up everything, which is really overwhelming. But then you can break it down. You can break it down into the custom. You could break it down to meals you've saved, or there we go. We can break it down into recipes. So let's say that I made the blueberry bars again, but this time I wanted to add coconut flakes. So now what you can do is you just click on this and you hit here, and then we'll at the end when we're done, we'll hit update. So let's say that again, I wanted to add coconut flakes. So I'll just do flakes and I want to add, not a cup, I want to add a tablespoon. And then let's say that I also wanted to add in some lemon because I've made lemon blueberry ones before and they're really good. So I used 1 lemon. Okay. So now it's updated to the 1 tablespoon of coconut flakes and the 1 lemon. Therefore, you would hit update after you've changed, all these things, right? If you want less servings now, it'll change those macros. You want equivalent servings. You decide you don't like it in servings and you'd rather have it in ounces, like then you'd set that serving unit, etc. So lots of different ways you can utilize this. But the important thing to know is that as soon as I hit update, it's automatically updated there. So if I were to go back to my nutrition, which we will now, and I delete this one out of here. So remember, guys, you can always just swipe to the right and delete those. I would type in blueberry bars and it would have test. Now these are the new macros. So it's already automatically updated. Here's the new macros that I'm working with. So these are really nice because when you go into my foods, you can access any of the recipes that you've made and then edit them in real time. If you want to delete a recipe, for example, which now we're done with this one, just swipe and hit delete. That's perfectly fine. Now, once you delete it, you can't get it back. So it's not like you can go in your trash. So just be very careful with that. But again, the recipes aren't super difficult. It's just kind of knowing how to utilize it. So I understand that everybody right away is like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to type this in there. I don't want to put it in there. But you do it once and then you just make that recipe over and over. And what I will say too is I'll find my lemon blueberry protein bars. For example, these ones, so this one that's already done, I also have this on a note card and I just have it in my recipe stack. So I pull it out and I've got all these things on there from a nice physical recipe card standpoint. And then I make everything from that recipe card and I know it's already in the First Form app. And I do that because at the bottom on that recipe card, I will write what I labeled it in the First Form app and like highlight it blue or highlight it yellow. So it grabs my attention that it's already in there. So it may seem like a little bit of work up front, but again, this is going to keep so much guesstimation out for you guys. You're not going to have to wonder what's going in there. What am I doing? How do I access these different things? Like it feels so hard, it feels so tough. Like it really only is difficult when you very first start working on it. Otherwise, it gets easier and easier and easier as we move forward from here. So, I hope some of that information was helpful, just kind of going over that recipe builder. Again, it really is simple. You just got to get familiar with it. So I use it for soups. I use it for uh, casseroles. I use it for anything. And if you're like, how do I figure out how much or like how many ounces would be in soup then, right? Well, what I would do is I would take that soup and transfer it to a different container. Like it's not going to stay in your crock pot, right? So if you transfer it to a different container, you would weigh, like I'd put the glass Pyrex container on the scale, I dump the soup in there and then like just weigh it and see what it is. Or as you're adding the ingredients in, build the recipe as you're adding the ingredients in and then go from there. So it's really easy. It's really simple. You also can share First Form recipes within the app as well. I don't know if you guys saw in the Facebook group chat the other day, like Christy Jensen had shared like a link to the recipe. And then when you share a link to the recipe, anybody can use it. So if you guys have recipes that you're enjoying, send them in the Facebook chat, but then you can also put them in the Facebook group because there are obviously other people in there that use the First Form app, and then anybody can access them. So again, I wanted to show you guys how to use it, how to find them, then go back into My Foods and be able to discover them, be able to edit, update, etc. So what questions do we have about the recipe builder or how to use it? Any questions? When you're sharing your recipes in the emails, could you share your links to it? I'm not sure what you mean, Jordan. Can you elaborate? Like the link to it in the First format?
Yeah, you had said that like when people share it on Facebook, they
Yep.
can share the link to it.
So not all of those recipes do I have in my First Form app. So if I have them
Okay.
inside my First Form app, I will. But I'm also pulling them from my arsenal of recipes that I've had for the last couple of years. So if I, for some reason, have made it and put it in the First Form app, yes, I will share it. But a lot of them, I don't have them in the First Form app yet because I'm like finding them and then sharing them with you guys and then deciding that that's what I'm going to make that week too. So
Gotcha.
I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Or do we feel like it was a good refresher?
Quick question.
Yes.
So the hardest part that I find when I'm building a recipe is trying to determine how many servings the entire thing is going to be. Do you
Yep.
have any tips on that?
I would ask yourself, like, what's the macro ratio that I'm trying to shoot for? If it's a casserole, then you would probably want it like pretty high in protein. It'll be relatively high in carbs, like moderate in fat. So it can be a little bit higher. But if it's something like a dessert, then you're probably going to want the macros to be a little bit lower. So I would just look at it of like, how much do I want this snack or how much do I want this meal to consume my macros for the day. Does that make sense? I hope.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I would say like if it's like my protein bars, for example, I want to eat a whole half of a thing of the pan, but I know that like that's going to be quite a lot of like, macronutrients. So I'd rather, okay, divide it by 8. That seems pretty reasonable per meal. And then you can play around it with pre-tracking too. Like what would those certain quantities look like pre-tracked into your macros for that day? And kind of go from there too. So that's a really good question. Yes, Annette, you can modify a recipe after you've already created it. I know so many people have like uh protein bars number 1, protein bars number 2, protein bars number 3. I'm like, you can just edit it, which is really nice. Good. What other questions do you guys have? Anything? I know a lot of people were just consistently doing like quick add, quick add, quick add. But I also want you guys to know when you quick add, I can't see like what's in the quick add, right? It just gives me the proteins, carbs, and fats. So if something's like 50 grams of fat and no protein or no carbs, I'm gonna be like, yo, what was that quick add, right? Because I can't see it. But if you make it a custom food and you name it, then I can get like an idea from it too. So try to name those quick adds if you can, just because it helps. But sometimes people will do that with, uh, dressings or sauces or things like that. But also, if you guys don't use the barcode scanner, use the barcode scanner. There are things that you'll find when using it that you can't find with inside the First Form app. But that's why we have a team that's constantly going and getting labels to scan like every single day. So the barcode scanner is phenomenal that it just pulls up and then looks and scans the barcode. You'd actually be surprised what stuff is in there. So utilize that too, but I'm all about making stuff easier and easier for you guys as well. So I hope it was a good refresher, and it sounds like it was. So that's what I got for you this week. What I would love for you to elaborate on for me after watching this is if you have a question and you come up with a question, please reach out. Let me know. We'll troubleshoot it together. We'll figure it out. We're constantly pushing out app updates all the time. So some systems that might not be working now could very well be working differently in a couple months because we give feedback. So we're always open to feedback and always looking for that. And you guys can always submit a help ticket at any time too. You would just go to your menu, and it should be under, I'm going to open it up. Should be under menu and like support. Yeah. Menu and then help. So it's just help right here. You can always submit somebody will email you back or they'll call you. Like they're really great about it. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. But I think the more that we're getting these recipes out there, the more that we're utilizing them, you should know how to use this thing forward, backwards, and then make it really simple for you. So have a great rest of your guys' evening. Happy early Memorial Day. Like I said, if you could get your assessments in ASAP, that would help me so much so I can get them done before the weekend for you all. And we'll plan a chat next week. Okay, see you later.